So now I can click and move it. Yep, so there it goes. The next tool, it's my very favorite tool, and you are going to probably use it quite a lot when you'll work on your Photoshop project, on the Photoshop cover of your project. So the quick selection tool is the smarter version of the lasso tool, and what it does is that the quick selection selects portions of your image, but it also helps you. You're obviously using your hand to move the mouse and select the portion of the image that you need, but this tool is also smart because it distinguishes between color and it kind of knows what you're looking for, so it selects that. Now, a very important detail about every tool, but specifically about the quick selection tool. If you check out the control menu right here on the top, you see that I am on the quick selection tool now. So that's the tool right here. I can select a different type of tool if I need to. I am now adding to the selection. So anytime you see the plus sign, that means you're adding to the selection. But you will also need to know how to subtract from the selection, which will happen in just a minute. I'll show you. That will probably happen on our cover. So now that we're clicked on the quick selection tool, let's go on and start selecting our um, Tom Hanks head. Well, let me actually, so quick selection tool, and let's begin with, um, start with the corner. I always start with the head, and I am just dragging my hand and moving it slowly just to make sure I give Photoshop enough time to identify the pixels that I need for this selection. So I need to make sure the glasses are selected, and you see that I selected a little bit too much there, which is completely fine because I'll go back and define my selection again. Well, that's what's happened. So this is what I was trying to avoid, but sometimes it doesn't work because Photoshop gets confused, especially when the colors are way too close with each other. So this color right here with the color of his suit, they're way too close in shade, and as a result, Photoshop got confused and selected everything. So what do I do now? One option is to click on the minus option of your tool and come back and drag your selection back in. So that's one thing you can do. What I always do, I hold my finger on the option key so that my tool becomes the opposite of what I've been using. And then I just drag my mouse to around the shape that I need. So I drag it quite nice and slow and careful because I want to make sure I'm not getting rid of what I need. Now let me zoom in a little bit. Take a look over his tie. You see his tie is not selected. So let's drag my, whoops, I'm clicked on the minus tool. So one thing, for next thing I have to do now is make sure I click on my add to the selection menu. And now I'm just gonna drag my cursor on the top of this tie to make sure I select the tie as well. I wouldn't want to paste Tom Hanks without the tie, right? Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit more, and you see that these spaces right here, they don't look very well. So hold your finger on the option key and slowly drag them in just to make sure you get enough of that space but not too much. Whoops, zoomed in way too much. So let's zoom out now. Okay, and there you go. Now my computer makes a sound like it's wanting to burn out. It's because I have Photoshop open and probably I have some other things open on my screen. So you see right here, you're just trying to get as much as you can of this selection, and don't be worried if you don't get all you need, because I'll show you a great combination of what you can do to take care of that. So now that my selection looks quite nice, almost perfect. I mean, I would still need a little bit more time to work on it and make it actually look perfect, but for the sake of time, we're going to move on and I'll show you how you can take care of the edges of this selection. So now that you've selected it, what you have to do is go to select and mask right here in your control menu. Click on select and mask and you will have a properties box that's going to pop up on your right like that. Now by default, your properties box will probably have an onion skin in the background, but you can always change that screen. So under view, I always use overlay because it just contrasts with my image and it's easy for me to see what I need to fix. So I'm gonna click outside now, and on the far left there are a list of tools excuse me, a list of tools that help the quick selection tool. What these tools actually do, they identify the edges. So I'm going to zoom in a bit, so identify where I need to fix the edges. So you see I'm clicked on the second option right here now, which it says refine edge brush tool, and if I drag my cursor on top, it should refine the edges. Now the one underneath it, let me zoom in a little bit and let's try here. The one underneath it, you see it adds to the selection. So I actually need my refine brush tool to remove from the selection. So look what happens. You see it's a very smart tool, but it's gonna take me some time. So you see I'm trying to get rid of, make sure that hair looks fine, nice and sweet. So now get rid of my selection here, his ear. So just go around it and click and drag and you'll see how the selection improves. So what it actually does, it fixes your quick selection um, shape. So I can actually go around here a bit. Now you can zoom out and take a look. So most of the times the hair is what's the most overwhelming thing to take care of. Now hair could be a bit overwhelming, so just have a little patience with yourself. If you feel like it looks okay for now again, I will need to spend a little bit more time to make it look perfect. But for now, before I hit save or before I hit OK, I'm gonna move my radius to about 2 pixels. Then under global refinements, I'll smooth it a little bit, not too much because you don't want it to have a shadow around, and I'll feather it out just a little bit. When I'm done, I'm gonna hit enter and these changes will be applied onto my selection. So there it goes. Well, I am now ready to move this picture onto a new background. So that's when I can start a new document, or that's when I can start the file for your magazine cover. Now, how do you start a new document in Photoshop? It's very simple. You just do File, New, and under File, New, you have to give directions and be specific about what the size of your project is going to be. So first thing first, under pixels, I'm gonna change it into inches because I'm gonna work in inches. The width of my project is gonna be 8.5. The height of my project is going to be 11. So this is a letter size document. Resolution. Now I don't have to ask you about resolution because we've talked a lot about the importance of resolution for high quality print publications. Um, Under color mode, we'll leave by default what Photoshop gives us, and under background contents, we can have it white. So I'm gonna hit create, and now here's my document. Now you don't see it. Let me enlarge it a bit. Well, wait a minute. What happened here? Let me see. I think I gave the wrong size of my document. So let's go back into File, New. So pixels, change to inches, 8.5, 11. Oh, I know what happened. I am clicked on portrait and I have to be clicked on I was clicked on landscape and I have to be clicked on portrait because my project is a vertical project, not horizontal. And under resolution, we'll do 300 and we'll hit create and voila. Okay, this is weird. Wait a minute. what's going on here? So 8.5 by 11. There it goes. 8.5, 11 inches, 300 resolution. Yeah. Hit create. And finally, there it is. This is weird that Photoshop just acted out like that, but it's fine. So now that we're here, we are actually ready to bring our image, but we're not gonna bring it quite now yet. So let's unlock layer 0. So this is what I did, guys. Oops, I'll be back there. So I unlocked layer 0. You see there's a lock. I clicked unlock. And before I bring in my selection here, I am actually going to apply a background color to this image. So there are two options of doing a background color. You can either do a gradient color, which is the gradient tool right here, or you can use the rectangle tool and draw a rectangle across this page and then apply a color over that rectangle. Now, today we are just going to do the gradient tool, so I'm going to click on it, and when you click on it, all you do is click, drag, let go, and there's the gradients. Now, let's take a look here under the gradient menu. Okay, let's change the colors so that we see what's going on there. Let's have this right there. So in my colors menu right here under set background color, you select the color that you need. Okay, so my opacity was wrong. Got it. So click, drag, let go, and here's the gradient layer. Now you can pick a type of gradients that you want to use. So I did the a radial gradient, but you can all actually do the linear gradient. So let's just click on the linear gradient, click, drag, let go. The longer the line, the less the gradients is visible. So you see, I just click, drag, let go, and that's how the gradient color is applied. Now I don't like this color, so I'm gonna change my colors a bit. I'll have a combination of this. I don't know what's gonna look like, but let's check it out. Okay, it's a little bit too bright, so let me change this and make it a little bit more pale. Maybe something like that. And click, drag, whoops. Click, drag, let go. So you see when this bar, okay, looks fine, looks quite okay. So what we're gonna do next is let me go and find my image. My image is behind my Photoshop window, which is right here. Bring it here. Okay, so I'm ready now to paste my image, to place my selection, my cutout, onto the new background. Now, what I need is to make sure I'm clicked on my move tool, because that's what I want to do. I want to click on this selection and move it onto the new document. So here's my move tool, click on it, come back and place your tool inside your selection. And when you place it inside the selection, you should see a pair of scissors right there, which indicates the software is ready to cut the selection. So what you do, you click, drag, and let go on that new document that you created. So let me do Command Z and go back and do it again. Click, drag, and let go. Now you can place it on the very bottom, or if you want to manipulate the size of your image, just do Command T. And when you do Command T, you see how this was, how your image was selected. So click and drag, make sure you keep the proportion of the image. You don't have to hold any extra keys. I have to, because I have an older version of Photoshop, so I have to hold my finger on the shift key to make sure the proportion is kept right. But from what I know, the last version of Photoshop, now the newer one, you don't have to hold your finger on the option key. So when I'm done, I'm gonna hit return, and there it goes. Now I have Tom Hanks on the cover of my magazine, and next thing that I have to do is I need to apply a banner, or the title of my magazine. So a masthead, you can call it different ways. How do you bring in text? So to bring in text, you will scroll down to the type tool. So this capital T horizontal type tool, you will click on the type tool, and you will come and click, drag on the top of your, on the almost the first 2 inches of your magazine, and drag a box. This box is going to hold the text. So now you can click inside and type. And I don't remember what the what the banner titles are for your magazine, so I'm just gonna say live nice. Now you can barely see my typing, and the reason to that is that it's either because the color of your font is the same as the background color, which is my case right now. So this is the background color right there. Now let me minimize this because I don't need Tom Hanks' original picture anymore. Or it's probably because it's too small or too large and it doesn't fit in the box. So first thing that I'm gonna do is I'll change the color, and I'll apply maybe a one of these purple, hit OK, and then I'm going to increase the size of my font. There are a couple of options that you can use to increase the size. So one option is in your control menu under the font size. You can just hold your mouse on that capital T and drag it to the right, and when you drag it to the right, the font increases in size. When you drag it to the left, it decreases in size. So that's one option. Another option, you can hold your finger on the command and shift key and then click on period, and that enlarges the font size, or command shift comma minimizes the size. So now I need to enlarge it and make it fit inside this box. Okay, let me enlarge the box a little bit. Perfect. Now if I want to change the font style of my font, in your control menu right here, just click on this arrow under the font style and pick whatever font style you like. You can actually do an Arial Black or do something more creative. Come on. So I'm gonna do this one right here. Okay, I don't know what happened here. This is probably a function somewhere clicked.